This is another fishing podcast.
This is Brody Campbell. I was filming him on day 2 of the first Invitational, Tackle Warehouse Invitational in Sam Rayburn. And so you see him, okay, so he's fishing there. He's looking down. Okay, so that is what is going on most of the time. These guys are really, these are eyes in the water column. They're able to see how the fish are reacting to their lures, whether they need to be more erratic with their retrieve or more subdued. They can see how the fish is behaving, how they're reacting to their lures. So it's critical that they're looking at their screen.
But they're using bigger lures, like you can't get away with.
No, not at all. No.
Anything.
Well, there are lures that show up better. But they're not huge lures necessarily. They're 3-4 inch baits. Some there's baits being designed now that show up a little bit better.
Have you seen them use like throwing Texas rigs or pitching jigs around docks?
That is something that I'm sure there's gonna be more guys using forward-facing sonar shallow, and this is the next thing. So that leads us well into this more close-up shot of his graphs here. So this is Brody Campbell's graphs. And you see his setup here. So this is how guys are, he's got two screens up here. You saw Kyle Hall had 3. But Brody's got 2 screens. And like I said earlier, Garmin is really, really good, man. Their picture is so crystal clear. So on that top graph, that is the forward-facing sonar, Pete. Okay, so that beam is going straight out. It's mounted to his trolling motor. He can turn left, right, and it's going to show what's in front or whatever he's pointing at. Okay, right. So the top of the screen there of that graph, you see from the left to right, the very top, it shows you the distance out. Okay, so imagine his bow. You're looking at a cross-section of the water column in front of him.
Right. So if he goes forward, he's getting shallower. Is that what you're seeing there?
Well, it depends on where he is on the lake and what he's pointing at. But so it's like 10, 20, 30, 40. That's the distance. You see there's like kind of maybe there's bait fish the very end of the screen on the right.
Yep.
It's showing you exactly how far away that is from you.
Right.
And then and then on the left is the depth, right? So you are seeing a cross section in front of you of the water column. And so it's like incredibly powerful. So you have that, right? Now guys are also pairing up, and this is why guys are having 2 graphs up front, 3 graphs up front. The bottom graph is known as what's perspective view. All right, so this is crazy, dude. So perspective view is showing you, imagine if you had your own drone, you kick it up, and you're able to look above you, looking down, bird's eye view at everything in front of you in the water column. Bird's eye view down. That's what perspective view is giving you.
And his boat would be the bottom of that white V on the bottom.
That's right. That's right. So everything, so what that's showing you is, imagine you got a little, go ahead.
You're seeing that same bait fish on the top of that screen as you are on the other screen on the right side of the screen.
Exactly right. So it's crazy. So like I thought I had a firm grasp of forward-facing sonar and how powerful it was, just by finally understanding really the power of that top graph, what that's showing you, that cross-section, I mean, that in itself is incredibly powerful. Well, now my mind was blown seeing guys using perspective mode paired up with the traditional live scope mode, front, facing.
Perspective is live scope also?
Yeah. So you're seeing it's like movement, but from both a cross-section of the lake on the top graph there, and on that bottom graph, you're seeing movement from a bird's eye view. So I should have done this as a video, but everything is moving on those screens.
Right. Everything moves if you move, and then if it's live, it's moving by itself.
Well, the fish are moving. Everything's moving there. Everything's moving. And so okay, that fish is moving away from me. I've got to cast a little bit farther in front of it. And then you see your lure go down to it. I mean, what's going to happen? Like walleyes, a lot of times here in the state of Minnesota are just pressured already. Yeah. Now you have eyes. You have a complete view of the water column.
I wonder what that's like for a fish that's not suspended. You know how eyes are always hugging right on the bottom? I mean, not always, but. Like, have you seen fish like that? Like, let's say you're working in 15, 20 feet of water and fish are just holding tight to rocks on a flat bottom,
Yeah, so, yeah.
You wouldn't think that would show up as well, but...
Well, here's the crazy... So, what Brody was telling me is that... Okay, so you're looking at the bottom graph there. So when you start getting into like spawning season now, so that's gonna start happening in the southern states for bass. Fish are gonna start moving up shallow, and this could pertain any species that's spawning or up shallow or whatever. Those things it'll be like a brighter spot. So he's in deeper water right here using that perspective mode, so you don't really see the bottom.
Yeah.
You get that thing in a shallow water, you'll see the bottom, you'll see logs, you'll see whatever, rocks. Whoa. Fish will be like a brighter little dot, dude. And if they're a big fish, it'll be a blob moving around. So It's like there's nowhere to hide, dude.
So hypothetically, if you could make your own rules for electronics allowed, on any professional bass situation, what do you give an angler?
I think, it's a
tough question.
Thinking about this more and more, I think the technology is amazing. And I think there are people that are going to get really good at it. I think there's going to be there's talent, like figuring all that stuff out. And, I'm not saying that there isn't talent there.
No.
But I think what needs to happen, and I'm just throwing this out there, I haven't really stewed on this for too long, but I think there needs to be tournaments where it's like there is no forward-facing sonar. I think there's got to be some tournaments where you just go, you know what, this particular fishery, we kind of want to go old school with it. It's a great shallow water fishery, good power fishing fishery, meaning, spinner baits and buzz baits, lipless crankbaits, these lures that you're just covering water and you're, whatever, right. Or it's a great jig, shallow water jig lake or something. I think that you have to kind of it's dependent on what the fish, the fishery's strengths, but I think they should limit at some tournaments. They should not allow it. That's what I'm just throwing out here right now. I might change my mind on that, but
it almost throw side, scanning into that too, and make it more of, we'll give you a depth, but after that you just got to figure out what you're dealing with underwater. It's kind of fun that way, but especially younger guys are going to be like, oh, you're just gonna, now we just got a bobber and a night crawler. Is that what you old guys are making us do? Yeah. But I mean, it sucks because those guys aren't out there fishing with their instincts now. They're not learning in a way that makes you understand entirely what's going on. You're out there searching for a digital mark, which is kind of depressing in a lot of ways. And the other thing is, it's like when you're out fishing, and tournaments are different because you're hyper focused. You're out there to win money, but I mean, part of the thing is being out there and enjoying your surroundings, enjoying a storm cloud in the distance and a tree line in front of you or a bald eagle flying over your head, And if you're staring at your screens, you're not catching, what my favorite part of fishing,
Yeah.
You're kind of just blocking yourself away from it all.
Yeah, I agree. There's something, I'm just trying to be objective. I'm trying to be like, okay, is it just because I'm older and, there's all these young kids? It's great to see it, like all the youth and, it's like, oh my God, yeah, I am getting quite a bit older, I'm like, but there's a part of me that just feels like I'm still, a young guy, but it's like, that's not the case.
I've I've got a spot lock and a helix, and I don't understand 95% of it. Like, I figured out how to make it spot lock. And I'm like, okay, well, now I'm ready to fish. Like, I don't have any time to donate to reading it. And the manual is like 300 or 400 pages, you know? And I'm interested in that nerdy stuff, you know? Part of it's like, when I should be studying it, I'm probably just be like, I'm just going to go fishing. I'll figure it out when I get out there, and then I never do. But, it's such leaps and bounds with the simplest parts of those things. But it is impressive when those guys can really drill into it and kind of figure out how to get an edge with technology, but it just feels weird.